How do you think about building trust?
Yeah, I say this to everyone, and I'm not sure whether it lands well, but one thing I think about a lot is like shared vocabulary, and this may be my kind of like translator theory of management coming out, but my experience has been that there's probably 20% of the people that I meet where when I speak with them, I feel like everything I said and everything they said came across the transom like fully decoded properly. And about 80% of the people that I talk to, some amount of it is wrong. Like I don't, it's like I don't know whether it's on my end, on their end, whatever. But it's not 100%. Like we're not exactly on the same page. And I think it's been helpful for me to just recognize that and then to say like, okay, when I'm working with somebody, certainly when I'm hiring, I optimize to find that 20%. Like just we're going to understand each other. Um, but I think as you work together, it's been really valuable to me to build a shared vocabulary around things. So, whatever your shorthand is, one I have with one person I manage right now is like a rip. Is this a rip the band-aid moment? This is a person who's brilliant, has totally great drive and execution, but when there's something that she's somewhat unsure of, right? She's wants to build a whole bunch of info, like build up a database of knowledge about it before she's going to make a decision. So she's hesitant about those decisions. So, and when one day we came up with this, like, hey, like sometimes you just got to rip the band-aid, and like this is a moment where this you just got to rip the band-aid. And it was like, okay, now we have a word that we know when this situation shows up for you, we just say, is this a rip the band-aid moment? If it is, boom, we know what's going to happen. She can go execute on it and doesn't feel like there's this whole other discussion that has to happen. And I pretty actively seek those out with people and encourage my staff to do that with their teams as well, because I think that helps you when you have a little bit of a secret language. It puts you on a team together in a fun way, and I think it also like and I think that builds trust, and it also like clarifies situations and shortens the timeline to discuss situations that maybe come up regularly between you. So that kind of shared vocabulary, I think, is a really good way to build trust. Another one that's really important is acknowledging when you change something, and acknowledging that it's a change from an expectation that you set. So that means you also have to set clear expectations. Say like, I expect to do this, and or I expect you to do this, or I want you to operate under this assumption. And when that assumption changes, like I'm going to acknowledge that the assumption changed. You know, so something that's come up recently for us is our marketing team operated under one key performance metric that was the cost of acquiring a new user. And by those metrics, the team for the last quarter was killing it. But we learned, you know, the quality of those new members had gone down significantly, and that wasn't captured in the marketing team's metrics. It was captured somewhere else. So when we pulled it in and we're like, actually, while you thought you had like the best quarter you've ever had, it's been terrible, right? Like just going in and saying you're actually screwing up, it isn't helpful. It doesn't like make the team, it doesn't make the manager feel like they're understood, or it's like this doesn't work at all. But if you say, hey, we didn't understand this, we need to change this assumption, your metric is changing, and actually you're in a lot of trouble now, but this isn't your fault, this is like we changed the underlying assumption, I think is a really important way to build, kind of like to maintain trust with someone when they're working pretty hard to get something done. And that happens, I find that happens a lot more. Those kind of little assumption changes, maybe the big ones like that don't happen that much, but little assumption changes happen a lot. And if you don't acknowledge them, it kind of builds up this, it adds up